Welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where we discuss, honor, and celebrate all things college football across the entire landscape, but with a special emphasis on the black and gold squads of the Missouri Tigers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. It's great to be with you once again. It's a very special episode today. I'm your host, Blair Parks. Holla at you, boy! And as you can tell, I am joined after a long hiatus, my former co-host, Missouri fan number one, the living, breathing, talking, walking Venus de Milo, the eye candy is back. Charlie Oswald is here with me today. Charlie, welcome back. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good, man. It's good to be back.
Oh, it's been great. It's great. I know the Black and Gold family have been waiting for this day. Right now, please, I've already lost them because they're in complete awe of this face and what he brings to the show. It's great to be reunited, and it feels so good. What was that, Peaches and Herb?
I think so.
Good stuff. But today, today it's a very special episode. We're going to have a roughly about 30 minutes, give or take, a little preview on the Armed Forces Bowl between the Army Black Knights and our very own Missouri Tigers. We're going to break down the matchup, keep you in the know what you need to be looking for as far as matchups, keys to victory, game changers, trends, everything about the Armed Forces Bowl, which is going to be going on tomorrow. So tomorrow I will plan on having my weekly show, should be up online, I would think by the end of the morning, early afternoon. Going to break down tomorrow the next 13 bowl games, give you a little bit of previews and predictions, also bring you up to speed on updated storylines and headlines across the college football landscape, everything you're going to want to know. But this is great. It's great to have you back. I can't wait to talk about this bowl game. So without further ado, let's get it. Boom. What do you think?
Oh, dude, I'm excited to be here.
Let's get it.
I'm glad to be back.
Boom.
Let's do this.
All right. So let me go ahead and set the stage, set the mood, so to speak. Okay? So let me give you just the lowdown. Is December 22nd. Tomorrow is when the Armed Forces Bowl is taking place down in Texas. Let's see, where is it happening? Down in Fort Worth, Texas, between 8-4 Army and 6-6 Missouri out of the SEC. They were 3-5 in conference play. The Army Black Knights are an FBS Division I independent. So that's the who and what is taking place. But before we kind of look at this game, let's just do a quick little rewind. We're going to go ahead and just take a few minutes to really kind of recap what took place last week. As far as last Wednesday was early signing period across the nation. And right now, I got to say, there's a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement, both in Iowa City, but especially in Columbia, because both squads, we were really kind of expecting really good signing classes and big-time commits. Right. It definitely came true, but really with Missouri. So why don't you go ahead and break it down? What did we see last week, and what does it really mean for the program?
What's going to do is it's a historic, it's a program-changing recruitment phase. You're picking up the number one wide receiver. You're picking up the number 4 pocket passer. That's going to boost your offense, offensive line. But the biggest help that we're going to see is you'll see significant improvement on defense. You're going to get players that can come in and start as freshmen and make an impact.
Big time. And you guys were it was anticipated to be potentially a top 10 or just outside the top 10 class. And depending on the outlet you look at, I think Rivals has them 17. 247 Sports had them, I think, 12 or 13. So either way.
And at one point, ESPN had them at, the night before, they had them at, they reevaluated, as they'd call it, and they had them at 9. But I think now they dropped to like 10 or 11.
But, yeah.
But still, I'll take that.
Yeah, we can't be, we can't be picky. We can't be pickers. We can't be choosers, right? It's great.
Right. And so many people are on Drinkwitz saying, "Oh, he's got to go. He can't coach," but he doesn't have the people in place yet. You got to give him some time. Let him get the personnel that he needs for what he wants to do on both sides of the ball. Then you can see if he's a coach ready.
Yeah. And I think you've got to have the Jimmies and Joes. That is what's going to lead to the X's and O's.
It ain't just about coaching. A good coach, when you're a head coach of a college program, it's coaching your players. It's the X's and O's. But at the same time, it's selling the atmosphere. It's selling your program. It's selling what you need to do to be successful and compete in your conference.
Absolutely.
And Drink so far is doing it.
It's big time exciting for what's coming out of Missouri. I mean,
Absolutely.
because when that was projected, you guys, like you said, Luther Burden, the #1 wide receiver in the nation, 5-star, shunned Georgia and Alabama to come to Columbia to play for Missouri. I mean, it's seriously, this is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in the modern era, since they started keeping track of this, that is this not the best recruiting class they've ever had?
Oh, yeah, it is. I can't remember the exact numbers. The Pinkle had a couple that were in the 20s.
Okay.
And those were the ones back in the days, if you think about, like, the late Big 12 and the early SEC, when he had a couple good recruiting classes in the 20s, look what they did.
Yeah.
You know?
Back-to-back SEC division titles. I mean,
East
you
titles.
have to recruit. I mean, granted, some coaches can pull that rabbit out of their hat and get to 7-8 wins every year with not the best Jimmies and Joes. But when you have that, which is a good mind, and Coach Drink, I think, has a very good football mind. There's no doubt about
He
it.
does.
I think he has a good tenure. He has a beautiful mind, so to speak. But now, given the tools, and hopefully these cats hang out, I definitely expect to see some of them on the field next year. Maybe
Yeah.
not in big-time roles,
Luther
but definitely
Burden,
they'll get
Luther
some,
Burden
they'll
is
get
going to
some
come
reps.
in as a true freshman and is going to just make a huge impact in the SEC. I will call it right now. He will be in tops in the categories. He's going to surprise some people. He is, I mean, they call him touchdown for a reason,
Touchdown?
because the dude is unbelievable. On the national stage playing against top teams, what he has done is sick.
Yep. And I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys, for the Black and Golds in Iowa. I mean, not a bad, your typical Kirk Ferentz in Iowa recruiting class. So they're never going to be a top 10, top 15, but based on what you look at, I think Rivals had them 42nd, but 247 had them 26. So kind of a big disparity. So if you're top 35, and they are the top recruiting class in the Big Ten West, but they got a 5-star. If you guys remember, if you watched a couple weeks ago, I brought you up to speed on the big 5-star recruit that Iowa has now signed officially, committed, signed, cemented, book it, good to go. And Xavier Nwampa, the #1 safety recruit in the entire nation, an Iowa born and bred guy to stay at home. That's huge. I mean, Iowa, I think they said they were one of only 4 Big Ten schools to get a 5-star, which the other players are going to be who to expect. Ohio State,
Michigan.
Penn State, Michigan. So huge get for Iowa too, and especially for Missouri. I mean, things are definitely looking up. You just got to give these coaches time.
And something you got to think about with Missouri, when they brought in, so they got Sam Horn out of Georgia. He was recruited by Georgia, went with Mizzou instead. So now you look at what we have in a quarterback room at Mizzou. Who do you start?
You've got too many guys.
You got too many guys.
And how
So-
dare that's such a bad thing, right?
It's a bad thing. When
Yeah.
other teams like, oh, we need a quarterback, we're going to have 4 of them that are just going to be great. I know Bazelak might not have the year that he had hoped for and everybody had hoped for, but you got young guys in the mix now that there's going to be a hell of a competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what makes quarterbacks better? A hard quarterback competition. Get that push. Like, if I want to start, I've got to beat these guys out.
Yep, absolutely. I definitely expect, we talked about this, I expect at least one of your quarterbacks to hit the transfer portal, and probably one of Iowa's too. I mean, there's no doubt about it. In the age of, if I'm not starting, I'm departing, that's how it is, unfortunately.
And money talks, the NIL.
Yeah, you just hope that you make the right decision. That's it. But yeah, so I definitely will keep you abreast and up to speed on any more recruiting news or transfer portal transferees to either Missouri or Iowa. Definitely will keep you up to speed weekly with the updated storylines and headlines. But yeah, big time wins on the recruiting trail. Huge.
But it's like this at the same time. I'm going to say one thing.
Yep.
We're excited
Sure.
about it, but until we see that on paper, on the field, matching, because how many times we see it, you see a recruit come in, it's going to be a highly touted recruit, and they struggle.
Yep.
But I think that both teams picked up what they needed,
Yep,
and I think
absolutely.
it's going to benefit.
Yep. You guys really targeted more offense, which that's really how, from my perspective, that how Missouri wants to win. Yes, you definitely want to have a solid defense because remember, there are 3 phases to football, even though a lot of Iowa fans may not think that. But you guys really want to more or less win offensively when Iowa's game plan for victory is defense first, special teams, and then offense. But that's been the problem in Iowa City because you have to have all 3 to win. But Yeah, I'm definitely excited and looking forward, and we'll keep you guys up to speed as more breaking news along the recruiting and transfer portal news. But let's get back now. We'll fast forward back to the Armed Forces Bowl. So initially, I want to get your initial thoughts.
Okay.
When you were at home on Sunday after championship, Friday and Saturday, when the news broke, whether you were at home, you got it on the TV or on your phone or through the teletype, whatever it was. Because right now it seems like there's a pretty good little mixed bag as far as initial response. Some people are excited, some aren't, some wanted a better bowl destination. But just before we really dive in, when you saw that, what was your initial thoughts and response
I'll
to
be
the
honest.
matchup?
So when I first seen it, I was like, seriously, the Armed Forces Bowl? We could have done a little bit better. But I think all in all, Mizzou's got a pretty good footprint in Texas on recruiting. Playing down there, so if you're a recruit and you're going to watch a game, and it's the only game on that day, so it's going to be a lot of national people. So when you see it like that, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Because it's not like there's going to be like 3 or 4 bowls on that day where it's like, who do we watch or what do we do? So there's going to be a lot of news centered around that game, and it's patriotic. You're playing Army.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're playing guys that are going to get represented. That's going to defend our country.
Yep.
And we get to play against those guys,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a good matchup. With the triple option versus our lackadaisical run defense, it's going to be interesting. But the defense has gotten better.
Yeah, they have.
Every week you've seen improvement. After it's like when he hit bottom, all we can do is go up, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And that's what we did.
Absolutely. I'm kind of with you. I was really excited because getting to a bowl game anyway, that's progress. And that's what Coach Drinkney and those boys needed to do. They got there. And you're right, you're playing one of the service academies. And you're absolutely right. I almost feel a little bit jaded, having to root against one because, like you said, the 5-year commitment that these young men have made after going to West Point to the academy there at Army, it's almost like, how can you not almost root for them? And you got to be excited, but you're absolutely right. The difference in styles, SEC speed, athleticism, power, depth against the wacky triple option. It's a great matchup.
And on paper, and I don't mean this in a bad way.
Yeah.
All right, but if you look at the talent that Army's got compared to the talent that Mizzou's got as recruits and players, Mizzou should win.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, you can't sleep on Army.
Yep.
They'll surprise you.
And to kind of recap, just a quick little recap of the season. I already went through the overall records of both Army and Missouri. But Army, their best win, when you look at it, had to be 31-16 over Liberty, a Liberty team that just rolled in their bowl game. Malik Willis, their quarterback, heading to the NFL, going to be a first-round draft pick, maybe early second round. So that's a really good win for Army. Close losses, they lost 20-14 up at Wisconsin at Camp Randall. Well, yes, Wisconsin was maybe a little bit down this year.
They were.
But you hang with Wisconsin up there in Madtown, that's a good close loss. And this team put up 56 points against Wake Forest.
But in that same
yes,
game,
yes.
when you let Wake Forest put up 70,
Yes,
where's your defense?
Yes. So, overall, a good win and some couple competitive losses to more of the bigger brands that they played. Yeah. And Missouri, and feel free if you want to disagree, we get along, we have a good time with this, but I think absolutely the walk-off in overtime 24-23, Missouri's best victory of the year, which also sent Dan Mullen packing, which is huge for them moving forward.
This is what I love about Mizzou. Love or hate them, whether you're a fan of them or not, what they do to coaches that are on the hot seat. When you play Mizzou late in the season, you better win. If you're on the hot seat and you play Mizzou, you better win because it's not.
I know. It's like they're like the Undertaker. Done.
That's right. Pack your bags.
It's over. You're done. You're going to Death Valley. Okay, there's the final nail in the coffin.
That win, if you think about it, going for 2 on your first possession overtime to win.
Yeah.
And that was ballsy. Yeah. It was gutsy and good for Drink for doing it.
Yeah, and that was a great moment. And we were here together watching that game, and it was a great moment for us together as friends, as black and gold fans. It was great.
But the bittersweet thing of that was the tight end that caught it. 2 days later, announced he's going to the transfer portal.
Well, best of luck to him, though.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely.
And another close loss, and this really ended up being a really close game. If they would have won this game, maybe obviously it was tough to get over that Georgia hump this year, but a close loss at Lexington, Kentucky by a touchdown, 35-28. And that game, there just was a lot of bad, untimely turnovers for Missouri. They easily could have maybe walked out of that place with a victory.
I think that put them in a funk because that was such a hard loss for them early in the season, and they just couldn't get things going after that.
Yep.
It was like defenses kind of fell apart. You know, you had missed assignments. They weren't disciplined, filling the gaps right. You know, it was just they were out of sync, and teams like, oh, well, we can run on them, and that's what they did.
Yep. But yeah, and that's a Kentucky team. That's a very good team. And obviously we know a lot about them. And probably sometime next week after the holiday between Christmas and New Year's, we're probably, hopefully Charlie can join me. We're going to do a quick half-hour preview of the Citrus Bowl on New Year's Day between Iowa and that Kentucky squad. It's going to be a damn good game, too.
It's going to be a good game.
So can't wait for that one. So, okay, so let's just talk quick. Last time we saw these two teams on the field, Black Friday, so it's been a while since we've seen Missouri at Arkansas. Didn't go their way, 34-17 loss. But that game, their rush defense, which has really been the issue most of the year, that really wasn't the problem. This was a lot of big plays against Arkansas. A couple blown assignments, poor tackling, but it was definitely closer than what the scoreboard indicated.
Sure.
And last time, just 2 weeks ago, in America's game, great rivalry game, heated as can be. I can't wait. Someday we've got to get out there and watch Army and Navy together for the camaraderie, the spectacle, the celebration of America. And these two teams, they were upset by Navy 17-13. So that is an upset. Army came in being 8-3. That ended up being Navy's 4th win on the season. So that was their Super Bowl. That was their bowl game. But usually in that series, the most desperate team usually wins anyway.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So last time out, both squads took losses. So something's got to give. Okay? So let's just do this. Why don't you go and start off with me? What's some matchups of yours to watch in this game? What's some of those key matchups?
It's gonna be that triple option.
Yep.
The defense has to be disciplined. You have to stay contained. You can't get too aggressive. You stay home. You make your reads and you tackle up. You sure tackle. You can't arm tackle and don't dive. But the thing I want to watch is Christian Anderson, a quarterback from Army. If you start to slow down that triple option, they can bring him in, and he can throw it. He's got a cannon for an arm, not the most accurate, but he can keep the defensive honest, throw the ball deep, keep the safety back, so you can't jam that box and keep it. Say, okay, we're going to stop this run. Then they burn you deep. It's not often, but they can do it. So that's going to be huge. So the defense has to be on point.
You can't get caught napping.
Right. And then another key point is, my man Beatty coming back to play.
Yep.
He's going to go pro, but he is staying back. He needs to do what he's got to do to stay on point. But I think he's got to get the ball. You got to keep him in early and often.
Okay. Excellent. I mean, as far as my matchups to watch, you already hit it on it, but I'll kind of expand. It's got to be that triple option attack versus Missouri's rush defense, which the last 3 games, Arkansas, Florida, South Carolina, has been a lot better. But Army's averaging 286 yards on the ground. That's a good amount. And right now, Missouri's still in the lower 120s. They have moved up a little bit. Unfortunately, that's one thing that both our squads have in common. Iowa's in the 120s for overall offense, and Missouri's in the 120s for rush defense. So that's definitely moving into next season, what we got to see improve.
Absolutely.
But Missouri, on average, is giving up 229 yards per game.
Which is deceiving.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot. Yeah. But if you look at what they did the first 4 or 5 games of the season compared to the last 4 games of the season,
absolutely.
Night and day different.
Yep. Army's averaging 34 points per game. Missouri's averaging 30 points per game offensively. So this is a really close matchup. It really is more than people think.
It's going to be a great game, I
think.
It's going to be good.
As far as game changers, because obviously this comes down to the Jimmies and Joes. Both coaches are very good. I mean, what Jeff Monken has done at Army absolutely turned their fortunes around. I mean, each and every year you didn't even know who they were. You would see them once a year on TV. I think what Army won 13 straight. Yeah. No, Navy did against them.
Won, yeah.
So Jeff Monken absolutely has turned them around. We know what Coach Drink is capable of. So not necessarily a coaching matchup. But let's look at the Jimmies and the Joes. So who are some of your game changers? Anybody on Army that you say these cats can absolutely change the game? What do you think?
Like I said, the one I'm worried about the most is Anderson at quarterback, just because if he's in there, it's going to keep Wilkes, the coordinator from Mizzou, on the defense. It's going to keep him as a chess match because you're like, okay, what's he going to do?
Yep.
Because he is capable to just have an unbelievable front arm. He can just let it rip and sling that ball. So it's going to keep us off balance, and that's going to be huge for them.
Yep.
And then for us, our quarterback play. If we get Beatty going, open up our passing. If you look at what Wake Forest did, 70 points on that defense.
Yeah.
I'd say that Wake's offense is semi-comparable to Mizzou's. So hopefully it turns into a track meet, and we'll see.
And don't quote me, but I remember earlier this season, after that game, when I had one of my recap episodes, the time of possession, which absolutely that's going to favor Army. That's what they're going to want to do in this game. But against Wake, I think it was like 4-1, 3-1. But Wake was averaging 2 points per minute. Yeah. So obviously this Army defense has some holes. Maybe not Swiss cheese holes, but they got some holes.
Right. And the one thing that I was thinking about, leading up to this, when I knew I was going to come for this episode, was the quarterback play at Mizzou was going to be Bazelak. Yeah. Is it who's going to be the starter? Bazelak has been up and down. You got Connor Cook. Who's it going to be?
Yeah.
Drinkwitz isn't going to allow or mention it, say who it is, until game time.
Yeah.
So I think is it an injury? Is Bazelak been hurt? They say he's been banged up a little bit. Is it because he's hurt and he's struggling? Is that why he had up and down season? Or is it just because maybe he's just kind of getting a little complacent in the offense and it's time for a change?
Yeah. And hopefully he's healthy. They've had, 3, almost 4 weeks to heal. So hopefully Bazelak, because obviously you could tell, last few games of the season just wasn't 100% healthy, struggled a little bit, labored at times, but still did what he could.
Yeah,
he got them to bowl eligibility.
If he's not 100%, you've got to go with Cook and Macon. Macon is a quarterback that gives you an option, a chance to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And
home away you make it.
Let's
home away you make it. Yeah.
Let's give them a taste of their own medicine. Let's put Macon in.
Let's do it.
And do a little triple option ourselves.
My game changers. I've got just a little note here. Army has 4 running backs have rushed for more than 400 yards, and 2 of them for 500 or more. So they're going to have fresh legs. Mm-hmm. They know what to do. So it's going to be just kind of a game of attrition. Who's going to be there? I mean, and also defensively, we know what Missouri has to do. Yeah. We know where they struggled, so I'm not going to mention that much anymore. I probably still will, but that's going to be it. Your assignment, good tackling, but it's really going to come down to who's going to execute better. And Army is very disciplined. They're not going to make a lot of turnovers, a lot of penalties, but they're going to be aggressive. So that's the game changers for me. And also the edge rusher, Andre Carter for Army. Yep. He's an NFL prospect, right now projected 3rd to 5th round pick. His numbers on the season, not bad. 34 solo tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 13.5 sacks. Not bad at all. That guy's going to be getting after the Missouri quarterbacks, no matter who it is. But it's got to be, for Missouri, it's got to be Tyler Beatty. I mean, everything. He's 1,600-plus yards rushing this season, 14 touchdowns. And he's got to get it done.
Only running back to run for 5 games over 200 yards. Only running back to do that.
I think people now at the very end of the season, now when they look at the stats, like, where did that come from? A lot of people didn't really, he was so under the radar for so long this season, but now it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. These are the numbers. These are legit. Absolutely. So he's going to be the biggest game changer for me for Missouri. I mean, he's got to get out there, and time again this season, he has shown he is capable of giving you 150, near 200 yards. I think it's going to take that kind of an effort again.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be.
And if you get him going, that opens up play action. The passing's going to be there, and then I think we do that. Missouri can control the whole game after that.
And I think the other big-time game changer for me, because points are going to be at a premium, and so are possessions. If you've ever watched the academies, that's what they want to do. Because, yes, they don't have the speed, the power, the depth to contend, and they know that. That's why the triple option is kind of the neutralizer. But their game plan is, hey, we're going to try to score on every one of our possessions, TD, field goal, something, and we're going to try to deny the other team 2 to 3 possessions of their own. So points are really going to be at a premium. Because, I mean, I think Missouri will get plenty of possessions,
They will.
but they're going to have to capitalize on
They're
that.
not going to get their 80-plus
No.
plays a game.
No.
You know.
So I think the place kicker, the thicker kicker, Harrison
kicker.
Mevis, he's got to knock down some field goals.
My man Harrison.
These
I feel bad for that dude. He got shunned.
He did.
He got
for the
shunned
Lou
on
Groza
awards.
Award. Absolutely,
He
he
actually
did.
got shunned.
Absolutely. But he's young, so what? He's only a sophomore,
Yeah.
right? So he's got 2 more years left.
He'll get it next year.
I mean, he's trending absolutely in the right direction. I mean, because they're going to have to take advantage of these scoring opportunities.
Yeah, because he hasn't missed an extra point.
No, I got him this seat 20 for 22 on field goals, 40 for 40 extra point attempts. So he's going to have to be big time because if Army scores Missouri, they don't necessarily have to answer on the next drive, but they're going to have to score points when they get the ball because
Absolutely.
Army's going to try to just wear them down. They are second in the nation, time of possession, so you know what their game plan is going to be. So Missouri has got to try to cash in, especially if they do get some turnovers or good field position. They've got to cash in on that. What about the keys to victory? So why don't you go ahead from an Army perspective. If they're going to pull off the upset, which I hate to say that because I think they are favored by 4 points.
They're favored.
They're favored, which is a little bit surprising. It just is to me. But for Army to pull off the victory, what's their keys to getting a victory?
You've got to have that time of possession in your favor. You got to keep Missouri's offense.
Them just play their game.
You got to play your game. You just eat that clock and eat that clock and eat that clock all you can. You rotate your running backs. You got a couple quarterbacks that can run on top. You got a throwing quarterback like I've already mentioned. You know, you got 5 or 6 guys that you can keep in fresh. Wear that defense down. Make them tired. Get them gassed, and do your job.
Absolutely. In Army, we know what we're going to get out of them. They're going to play their game. They're going to execute. And I think when I look at it from an intangible perspective, and obviously it's hard for me to get in their heads, a part of me says they might come out a little bit flat because that's a demoralizing loss to Navy. It just is. Even though they're all on the same team, at the end of the day, they come together. Great spectacle in college football, but on the field, it is as heated as anything.
When it's game time between Army and Navy, it's just die hard.
It's
either your Army or your Navy, and when you lose to one or the other one, it is a punch in the gut.
And your whole career, your whole life, you don't forget that win or that loss. So a part of me thinks maybe they might come out a little bit down because of that, but the other part of me says, hey, they want to get that sour taste out of their mouth, so they might be ready to play. But I don't really necessarily see, and we see this a lot during bowl season. Some teams, they just don't really want to be there. They're not motivated. But it's hard for me to see a service academy not be ready to go, right? Do you agree with that?
No, they're going to be disciplined. They're going to be fired up. I hope for a little bit of a hangover.
Yeah.
Just so we can jump out early. And I think if we jump out early, we can control the game a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My keys, I mean, Army possessed the ball like we talked about. The man hit it. That's why he's here. He's the man. Just play your game. Don't give Missouri any help. Don't turn it over. Win the turnover battle, the penalty battle, and just execute. Right. And I think that's what they'll do. That's going to be vital for them. Missouri, kind of the opposite of that. You can't turn the ball over, help Army out, and you've got to make some stops on defense. Do they have to get off the field every possession? No, but you've got to make a couple. You've got to make a couple just so you can grab the lead. Army doesn't want to play from behind. They don't want to do that. No. They want to be neck and neck or ahead. So once you get them in a hole, it absolutely favors Missouri. If it gets to be a big-time scoring fest, Army's got a little to no shot to win because they just can't do that. But
when you're running the ball and you're picking up 3 or 4 yards of carry, that's not the same as a 20, 30-yard pass to get down within field goal range.
Yep, absolutely. And one thing we forgot to mention is about Tyler Beatty. And hats off, a little bow. We'll give you a little golf clap to opt into this game.
Yes.
Just to play this game. When anybody else near his yardage, Kenneth Walker III, Heisman Trophy finalist, these running backs are opting out left and right. And that's maybe a conversation for another day, whether you agree or disagree. It's hard. Unless you're that in their shoes, it's hard to know, is that what I would do or not? But just for Tyler Beatty, not to hesitate. I think the day after it was announced, I'm playing, to put he's gonna make an NFL roster. I think he will be drafted, but he'll get an invite. There's no doubt about it. He'll get his chance. To where him still playing this game without hesitation, it speaks volumes about Tyler Beatty too.
They
to do
say,
that.
you know, they say he's such a stand-up guy. He's a great teammate. He's a leader, and I think this just shows even more so to, you know, the public that he is that type of competitor. He knows he is their offense right now. He is so important, and he knows that, and he says, "Let's do it."
And one more time with his mates, you know,
Right.
one more game for
One more
it
time.
all, which I think he still knows that, yep, I'm not trying to inflate anybody's ego, but he is their best offensive player. But I think he knows without my O-line, without all of these cats around me, this is impossible. And that's
How
why
awesome would it be to get 6 games this year over 200 yards?
he's going to have a good shot, and I think he's going to come close. He'll absolutely get 200 all-purpose yards.
All-purpose.
There's no doubt about that. But, yeah, just to get 200 rushing, that'd be a huge accomplishment. And, of course, then his draft stock,
Absolutely, yes.
big time up. So that's the keys to victory. Missouri, just don't help them out. Tackle, good assignment defense, and just try to limit the bleeding. They're not going to shut out Army on the ground. They're going to score some points. They're going to get some chunk plays, but just limit that as much as you can. That's the keys to victory for me, for Army and Missouri. So now it comes down to prediction time. Right now, you already told me who you think is going to win. I'll let you go ahead and discuss with the Black and Gold
So,
family.
you know,
so who comes out on top?
when I
of this
make my
game?
prediction, when we do our picks every week, I am up
Big
over
time.
somebody.
He is.
So, you know,
I've humbled myself. I've humbled myself
I'm going to be a
in
homer
front
here,
of the
and
Black
I'm
and
going
Gold
to go
family.
with Mizzou, whether they're 4-point underdogs or not. I'm going with Mizzou. I'll be a homer. You know, I think that at the end of the day, the depth of talent that Mizzou's got compared to Army
Yep.
is going to be the difference maker.
Okay.
If it comes, I hope it goes into a track meet the way it did it with Wake Forest, because I believe then that we will come out on top, because they're going to get in a hole, and that hole's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Because, you know, when we can hold Florida to, was like 60, 70 yards rushing, I think it was. It
was under 90. I think it was like 83. It was up there, but still,
But
much
the
better.
week before that, Florida played South Carolina and put up almost 300 yards
Yes.
rushing.
Yeah.
So, if you take that example of what the defense has done, if we can stay at home, like I said 100 times today, be disciplined. Your primary response, you hit your gaps, you're there, and you tackle up. I think at the end of the day, we win by 6+.
6+, okay. Boom. So he likes Missouri +6. So you're saying right now, if you were a betting man, you would take Mizzou?
Yes, I would.
Absolutely.
I would.
For me,
Don't
go ahead.
Don't take your don't go do it because
Don't
of me.
hold us accountable now.
This is
all right?
this is what I do with my money. If
Yeah,
I was
that's
betting.
right.
Don't hold me against it. Just in case.
Don't put that evil on us, Ricky Bobby. We don't want it. All right. We are not telling you what to do. We're saying if it was our money, we would. And quite frankly, a few weeks ago during championship weekend, I went with doing a little bit of gambling and lost terribly. The weekend that I won 2 games, which basically cemented this guy's victory. Now, it's still bowl season. It is the season of miracles. It's going to take a Christmas miracle to catch him.
So far in my bowl season right now, I'm like 4-4. So
And right now, too, I mean, what a crazy bowl season we've had already. Tomorrow, I'm also going to give some shout-outs to some of the bowl performances we've seen. It's been a absolute crazy, awesome bowl season. But what should we not expect this after the season we've had? All of the drama, everything.
well,
you know,
it's the first season after a COVID season that was just messed everything up. It's awesome. This is why we love college
and the
football.
parity, the upsets. I mean, we've seen so many during bowl season already. Now, my prediction for this game, I look at it, and once again, it's about matchups. This is what I look at on paper. I see what Army likes to do, what they can do well, possess the ball, run the ball. They're near the bottom in turnovers, but then again, they don't throw much. And this is a team that's they don't fumble much. And then I look at Missouri's struggles. Even though they have been better lately on the ground against the rush, I look at this stat, and to me, stats don't lie. But usually I would pick that. But I have learned already this season, we've seen so much happen that was like, so unexpected, that I think this is going to be a highly contested game. But I think ultimately it's going to end up being exactly that, a track meet. I think Army will have success on the ground. They'll put up points. I just don't think they're going to be able to slow down Missouri enough So I also like Missouri, but I like them a little bit more comfortably. I like them 13, 14. But then again, when you beat Army by 14 points, this can be a little bit deceiving because they're still going to try to slow the game down.
Right.
Even if they get down big, they're not going to be airing it out. They're still going to do what they do. So I do like Missouri to win comfortably. But then again, I've been wrong before. We could end up both being wrong, and I do feel a little bit jaded as a one hell of an American, like they said in Ace Ventura about Ray Finkel, one hell of a model American. I feel jaded rooting against an academy, but hey, I'm going with who I think is a better team. I like Missouri.
You're not really rooting against them.
Yes,
you're just giving a prediction of who you think is going to win.
Absolutely. And I think if it does get late in the game and it is really close, it's a nail biter. Here, both you and I are doing that. I mean, you got the Army. I think Army, the crowd support there in Texas, because the Army alums all over the world, it's going to be tough. I think this is going to be a really potential tough game, more than people think. And I understand why a lot of fans, Missouri, non-Missouri, are like, why? I hate this matchup. We deserve better. But I think it's going to be a tough game. It's tougher than I think most people believe. The average Joe.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good game, and I can't wait to watch it with you tomorrow
Jeff
night.
Monken, he's a smart coach. That's why he's been around as long as he has. His body work says a lot about him.
Absolutely.
Players buy into him. He gets a lot out of his people.
Yep.
So, and it's going to come down to I don't understand. I take that back. It's not that I don't understand. I haven't read the injury report. Hasn't been released yet. Who's injured for Mizzou?
Yeah.
Is there any key players for Army hurt? We don't know that yet.
Yeah.
So that could come into play.
Yeah, absolutely.
But 13, 14 points is pretty impressive.
I think they get it done. I just think that they'll find plenty of offense, enough to get it done and win comfortably. So that's my prediction. Initially, if I look at stats, I like Army. If you put profile A and B with no name, it's like, okay, probably this team is what it favors. But I think the matchups outside of paper just favor Missouri. So I'm going with Missouri as well.
And it's two different teams. You look at, like I said, start of the season to the end of the season, Missouri's defense looked like a complete different team.
Yep, absolutely. They have. They definitely have turned the corner, and I think the recruitment buzz, that's going to be a shot in the arm too, potentially. Yep. But that's today's episode. It's been awesome. Charlie, thanks much for being back. You're always welcome. It's been far too damn long. Hopefully next week, maybe Wednesday, we can do a Citrus Bowl preview between Iowa and Kentucky, a team we both know. We know a lot about both teams because we've seen them, we like them. I mean, two good coaches. But until then, we like to say, Charlie and I like to wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays. Tomorrow night, it's Tuesday. Tomorrow is the bowl game. We'll be watching that together. We got to figure out where we're going to be viewing, going between that and the basketball game, the bragging rights game between Missouri and Illinois. Also at the same time, wall-to-wall Missouri sports. Excited about that. But tomorrow, I'll be looking for my new episode, updating some, like I said, storylines and headlines. The next 13 bowls I'll look at. We'll make our predictions. And until then, thank you very much for joining Charlie and I on this episode, very special bowl episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog.
Merry Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.